I work at Udemy and I will be leading the session today. So my plan is to just go through the member side of the platform and walk you through how to best create an interview scenario. If you have any questions along the way, please just feel free to ask them and I'll do my best to answer. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see my screen? Perfect. So when you log on to Udemy on the member side, this is what you'll see. There are a couple different ways that you can use the platform. One is to just go over to practice, where you can choose to do an interview. If you hit this option, you can then choose from interview role plays that have been assigned to you by your coaches at Strat Genius. They'll be listed below. You can also choose who you want to do your interview role play with. So there'll be a bunch of different personas listed. And then down below, you'll be able to see what the interview is about, the main goals that you should achieve while doing this interview. And then you can also input the role and company that you are hoping to practice for. So this could be a software engineer at Google as an example. Another option here is to go on to create from a job description. That'll bring you into our builder function. From here, you can either manually enter in, like I said, Google software engineer, or you could go to automatically add a job description from the internet. From here, you could upload a PDF of a job description or add a link, and it would pull that relevant information to create the role play for you. Before I move on to the next step, are there any questions on that? Perfect. I'm just going to use Google as an example for this situation, and we'll do a sales manager role. The next step is to give the AI context on its role within the role play. So for this example, the AI would be a hiring manager at Google. You could let it know that you're interested in knowing about the individual's previous work, maybe certain aspects of it that you are interested in. You can also press rephrase, which acts like a chat GPT and adds additional context for you based off of what you wrote. You'll then press next. Here, you'll be able to add in some goals that you want to achieve during the role play. You can choose from a couple of listed goals here, such as actively listening, engaging in small talk, etc. These can also be weighted goals, or you can turn that off if you don't want them to be weighted as well. From here, you can add in potential questions that you want the AI to ask you. The AI will ask you relevant questions based off of the conversation anyway, but if there are certain questions that you know will probably get asked in an interview that you're practicing for, you can add those in. It could be things like, tell me about yourself, or why did you leave your previous role? Or it could be something more focused on that exact role, like why are you interested in Google, as an example. I'll just add in a few here. Next, you'll be able to add a persona of the individual that you'll be speaking to. So I'll remove this mic individual and I'll add in a persona. You can create from a persona or choose from your library. So I'll create someone, let's just call her Jenny Smith as an example. We'll say that she is a hiring manager at Google. You can then give her a voice. So we can make her a casual American as an example. A demeanor, she can be curious, skeptical, friendly. You can even give some additional background information, like maybe she has been a hiring manager at Google for X amount of years and is really interested in a certain aspect of the role. And then you can choose an avatar as well. You can add in multiple personas as well, so that if you wanted to practice this interview with a nice hiring manager and then you wanted to try it out with a blunt hiring manager, you could do that as well. Once you've added that in, you'll just give this interview a name. So I'll call this one Google Sales Interview. And then you can give it a member-facing description so that you remember what it's about and hit publish. Once it's done, it'll take you to this screen where you'll be able to see that you are having a sales interview with Jenny Smith and that this is the rubric to follow. I'm now going to press start to show you how the AI will interact with me and show you the feedback that you'll get at the end as well.
Hello, thanks for joining the interview today. I'm Jenny from Google's hiring team. How are you doing?
Hi, Jenny. I'm doing well, thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Great to meet you too. Let's get started with the interview. Could you tell me about a challenging situation you faced in your previous sales role and how you handled it?
Yeah, definitely, Jenny. I can tell you about my previous sales experience. I have lots of sales experience actually working at XYZ company and doing X. Once you've had this interview, you can then press stop and press save and view analysis. From here, on the right-hand side, you'll start to get feedback on what you did well, what you can improve on, and how you measured against those goals that we outlined. So as you can see for active listening, I got a 1 out of 5. It then lets me know what I did well. And if I show in-depth insights, it lets me know how I can improve for future interviews. Down below, it also highlights my strengths within the interview and my growth areas. There are further analytics as well, including how many filler words you used, if you were concise, your delivery. I always speak a little bit fast, so that's something I've been practicing. So it gives you a lot of different insights here. Any questions on any of that? Perfect. You can always practice again and continuously practice these role plays. You can also hit share and allow your coach to see this. You can enter in their email address, or you could also choose anyone with the link can view, copy the link and send that over. Once they have access, they can not only view the video and feedback, but they can also leave in comments so that you can see, okay, timestamped 35 seconds in, I should have said this differently. All of your recordings will live under the tab My Recordings. You can go back to them as much as you want. No one else can see them apart from you unless you share them with individuals. Some other things to note within Builder when you are building out those interview scenarios, you'll navigate to the Interview Scenarios tab. And then when you create new, you'll be able to either choose from our customizable templates or ones that Straight Genius has created for you, which you can customize as well. That is the main part of using Udly for interview prep. I don't know if there's anything else you want me to go through or any questions that you guys have from here. Looks like there's a hand raised. Pia?
Hi, Phoebe. Thanks. This is fantastic. I'm wondering, you said you can repeat to sort of clarify your interviewing skills. How many times you get to clarify in the same chance, in the same, and
Yeah.
it'll keep refining the responses for you in the same sort of interview, in the same.
Yeah, you can, that's a great question. You can practice it as many times as you want. You could do it 100 times in a row if you wanted, and it'll always give you different feedback as well.
Great, thanks.
No problem. Any other questions? Perfect. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted me to go over as well, Ara.
Thank you, Phoebe. I would love for you to speak a little bit about the information that's inputted. So for instance, you talked about the fact that you can upload a PDF or create a link or add a link, maybe the job description where the job description is posted online. How does that inform the AI, its responses and its questions that it might ask you? And should you add additional information in that little text box where you said, hi, you are a Google manager, and here's a little bit of background. Should you add anything additional about the school in that section that may not be in the job description? For instance, in the job description, it often doesn't state the values of the school or the mission of the school. It just says these are the daily responsibilities. Should you add that into that text box? Because will that help the AI structure its questions and responses to you?
Great questions. So how it works is it will pull that information in order to make sure that the AI is educated on what the role is. So it'll ask better questions. It'll also give better feedback. When you're like, oh, can you tell me a little bit more about this job? It'll be able to give you a little bit more insight into that. In terms of adding additional context, you definitely can. Our AI is connected to the internet. So if you put in Google as an example, it's going to know what Google does without you giving it information on what Google does. However, if you do want to get more in depth with it, you can definitely add some more information. What I would say is don't add too much because you can confuse the AI. So always in that box, let me just share my screen one more time. If I was going to create a role play again, we'll do this one. Always use a you form, speaking to the AI as if it's a person. So you are this, you care about this. Maybe you could say your values are this. Don't just put in what the values are, or it might confuse the AI. You have I think it's a 10,000 word limit here. And I would try to stay, around like 500 or less, just giving it some additional context on the main focus of what it should be within the role play. Any other questions there? Perfect. So you do
I
have
have
the ability.
another one. Sorry, Phoebe. How intuitive is the AI when it comes to education roles? So you chose a tech company, and I'm sure there's a lot of things that it knows around tech because you are a tech company, but is your AI pretty well versed in education roles and the types of things that educators might be asked in an interview?
Yeah, definitely. Another great question. So it is educated on this. It's again, it learns from the same kind of way that ChatGPT does. So it learns from the internet. So it has an understanding of the types of questions that would be used or be asked in an educational interview. You can, again, during the builder stage, if I was to build out this one as an example, you could go to the section where it says add potential questions, and you could add in some relevant questions that you know are constantly asked on educational interviews. But it will also be able to gather some information, especially as long as you put in some of that here. So letting them know, like, you're a hiring manager at, XYZ Educational Institute. You care most about this. You're looking for this. It'll give a context to know how to make sure that the interview seems realistic. Looks like there's another hand. Kenya?
Hi, thank you. Two questions. The first is when you input the information about the job and the position, the role, the responsibility, so on and so forth, does it help the AI generate questions specific to that particular job? Is that what I'm understanding? I just wanted that point of clarity. Is that actually what's happening, or is it just these standard questions?
No, that's exactly right. It will use that information to ask relevant questions. So even if you put those questions into that box field that I showed you, it will also ask questions that go along with the conversation. So if you start going on, I don't know, a tangent about some other work that you've done previously, it'll start asking you questions about that, but it will definitely also use the job description and the information from there to ask you relevant questions about the job.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted to make sure I was understanding that clearly. And then the next part is, as you are receiving these responses from AI, are employers hip to that? And do they care? Are they going to say, oh, that's totally an AI response, and be sensitive to that? And or even in your, I don't know if like resume writing or cover letter writing, do they do an AI screen and say, oh, those aren't your words? And does that hurt you?
Well, this wouldn't be, the AI would not be a part of your actual interview. It's just letting you know how you should answer questions differently in interviews later on. So it shouldn't hinder your interviews. We don't do anything with resumes, so I can't answer that question, but it'll just basically give you some information on, you did really well, Kenya, at building rapport with the interviewer. However, you could work on talking about your last work experience in more detail or something like that, and just kind of let you know where you should improve and where you're really doing well as well. Awesome. I have another question, a hand here, Naomi.
Hi, good evening. My question is this beneficial for like all types of interviews? So whether it's like a phone screening, it's a video interview, it's an in-person interview, or are there kind of strategies, especially when you're in person because you have more body language or full body versus like, yeah, just curious.
Yeah, great question. It's definitely helpful for all of them, especially in helping you figure out how to best answer things and feel confident about your answers. Obviously, with the body language, they're going to see more of that if you're having an in-person interview, but it does pick up some of that, and will let you know, like, you need to give more eye contact as an example on the analytics side. But it is helpful for all of them. And I guess just to highlight, when you create interviews from the interview scenario box here, You can choose if they'll be behavioral or technical, and that can help as well if you're maybe doing like a phone screening that's more of a behavioral one, and then the in-person is more of like a technical interview or whatever it might be. You can also filter like that.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Perfect. Well, unless there's anything else that you want me to go over, I can also send over some helpful documentation on how to use this so you don't get stuck on anything. But yeah, it was great to meet you all.
Thank you, Phoebe, and thank you everyone for joining. As we mentioned at the beginning, this is a free tool for you as a Strategenius candidate. So if there's a particular role that you're looking to practice or you want to create your own, we can help you in setting that up. It is very easy to do. As you could tell, Phoebe did it in just a matter of minutes, but we are on this side to make sure that you're in the best position possible for going into those particular interviews, whether it is a phone, Zoom, which we know is becoming more and more common these days as that preliminary screening interview, or an actual in-person interview. I see that we have one of my colleagues, Mary Rose, on a call. I want to give her the opportunity, one, to say hello to everyone, and two, fill in some of the things about the benefits of using Udly.
Thank you, Ara, and thank you, Phoebe. Thank you all for being here. And I'm so happy that you joined, because I do think that as we evolve, we are going to see AI as part of our, taking a greater part of our lives, including in job searches. It's been a really interesting season for us. Kind of trying to adopt this technology, and for the most part, it has been really useful. And one tip that I will give to you all when you are trying this out, and again, I highly encourage you to try it out, because I do think that employers, who, at least for folks of my vintage, if you are super, super skeptical about AI and not wanting to use it, some firms may not hire you. Like, some schools may not be interested in hiring you if you're super opposed to learning a new technology. So why not try it, right? And I think that one of the things that I've found really useful in using Udly, so obviously I tried it too multiple times. And I think that, so one of the things that I think it's really useful for is, practicing your conciseness. I know Ara and I probably agree on this, that one of the things that's really difficult for us when we do interviews with candidates is that people tend to go on and on and on and on, right? Even if you say, give me a brief introduction of yourself, tell me some of the big highlights of your career arc. We have people who can nail it in 3 to 5 minutes, and people who go on for 15 minutes. And the folks who go on for 15 minutes are likely to not move on to our process. Okay, so please try it out, see how you do. And the more comfortable you are in your interaction with the AI, I guarantee you that's going to translate when you have kind of a real person interview. Okay, so just practice, be intentional about how you communicate, right? Like, all these things really matter, and this is a tool that can help you do that. And again, right, like when you have your 30, or when you're, sometimes 15-minute interview with a firm or a school, if you use up all that time not well, you're just not going to move on. So somebody else had a question about AI and resumes, and Kenya, was that you? I thought that was a really good question that I'm going to pick up on a little bit too. I think that generally speaking, if your resume, if your language is mostly yours and you use AI to kind of help you, maybe find a better, rephrase or something like that, I think that's fine. It's like today we were talking, sorry, I'm going on and on. And after I just said, don't go on and on, here I am. But I just have a lot of things happening today. So we had a staff meeting today and we're talking about candidates who don't make it through certain stages of a search, right? So if you don't get a first look, if you don't get a first call, it's probably your materials, right? Your materials probably aren't up to par for whatever reason, if you don't get the first call. If you get the first call, but don't continue on, so maybe you get a screening with me in our hour, you get a screening with the school, but you don't continue, it's probably your interview, right? And then when you don't make it, say, let's say you make it to the finalist stage, and then you don't get the final offer, it could have been your interview, it could definitely be your interview, and it could have been your references, right? So those are just some of the things that to think about, that we think about from our side. But, you know, my advice, use the tools. They're there and they're there to help you get better. And I guarantee you that other people are doing it too, right? They're trying to get better. And you want to be on the winning side of this whole thing. I'm going to stop now. Sorry, Ara. Naomi, did you have a question?
Hi, yes, I just wanted to ask, I saw that the star mentioned or method was, I saw it somewhere when they had it up, and I'm very familiar with it. I'm wondering, I'm assuming the AI is using the star method, and then are there some interview examples, so that are already pre-recorded that are considered examples and maybe in the sector or field that we're in that we could watch and observe where they're using the star method, it would be like what all the high points of that the AI would give for feedback? Or is it only your video you get feedback on?
I can jump in here for Udly. It would only be your videos that you get feedback on. We don't have any examples. That's actually a great idea, and I'll definitely send that back to my product team as something we should have, but currently we don't have any examples of like a good interview role play.
Thank you.
No problem.
But as a firm, we do have practice role plays that you could do. So if you were to sign up to use Udly, you would have access to that library and could practice. If there are retained searches that come up, so for instance, maybe there is a, who knows, maybe a school that's looking for an intermediate and middle school head. There are some practice scenarios there that you could do that would help you for that particular school that we've already set up. Now, the other thing that I'll add is not every school uses the STAR method. So you can make the decision to include that in your practice scenario or to exclude it. It's really up to you. The great thing about Usely, they just give you lots of tools that you could use to really create different types of scenarios that would help you within this process. Other questions that might be helpful as you consider using this tool for your own practice.
Yeah, I think has a question.
I'm sorry if this has already been answered. So do we just sign up as Strategenius candidates right after this for Udly, since it's such a fantastic product and helpful? And do we also, secondly, do we have access to this recording after this so that one can look at how Phoebe magically did everything and all the things? And I'm not, at least for me, I'll speak for myself, I'm not Googling how to work Udly.
Great questions. So the answer to both of them, yes, we can make sure that you can
Fantastic.
sign up tonight and Phoebe will walk us through that process. If you're not quite ready, if you're unsure, reach out at another point in time and we can give you access to the platform. It is very easy to do. You just want to make sure that you sign up in a very specific way, or if not, you won't have access to our library and instead, which includes unlimited practice sessions. If you sign up for a free account through Udly, you are limited to how many practice sessions you can do per month. The second piece in regard to having access to the video, of course, that's why we're recording it. You won't have instant access because it goes to the cloud and the cloud needs to give me a second before I can share it, but you will have access to it tonight.
Amazing. Thank you, Ara. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, everyone.
Perfect. Just to clarify, to sign up, we would just need your email addresses, and then we'd send you out an invite through email. Once you accept that, you can just follow the link and you'll be led straight into this the correct instance and begin to be able to use it. So I would just say look out for that email. It might be in your junk as well. And as soon as you go to that and you accept it, you'll have access.
The one thing I want to stress is that when you sign up saying that you are creating an account, and that you should not sign up saying that you're connecting your Google account or your Microsoft account to it. What we have seen when individuals do that is that they actually don't have access to the Strategy Genius library or the white label version, and instead you're going into the normal free account for Utely. So when it says, are you creating an account? Yes, you want to create an account, even if you are using your Microsoft or Google account.
Naomi, do you have
Haley,
any?
is that another question, or is your hand up just from before? Okay,
Oh,
just
no,
wanted to make
maybe
sure.
from before. Oh, sorry, I didn't push lower hand. Thank you, sir.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Please know that if there are additional questions, if you get stuck and you need some help creating your own scenarios, please don't hesitate to reach out. But this tool has really been a game changer for candidates who have used it throughout this year. So we do hope that you take advantage of it as well. The goal truly is to be able to put you in the best position possible. So regardless of the type of empowered session that we do, whether it is talking about finance or talking about resumes or talking about perfecting the interview, we are here to help you. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, Phoebe, for leading this great overview of the powerful Utely tool. And of course, thank you, Mary Rose, for leading the charge as always. All right, everybody. Thank you so much and have a wonderful night.
Bye.
Thank you. Good night.